Hey there, I want to welcome you to Thursday's edition of Journey Through the Gospels, and today we're in Luke chapter 20. And we see again where Jesus is confronted by some church leaders and different groups. And we're going to look at a few verses throughout this entire chapter to see what happens. The first one is in the first 8 verses of the chapter. It says, "On one day he was teaching the people in the temple courts and preaching the gospel. The chief priests and the teachers of the law, together with the elders, came up to him. 'Tell us by what authority you are doing these things,' they said. 'Who gave you this authority?' He replied, 'I will ask you a question. Tell me, John's baptism, was it from heaven or from men?' They discussed it among themselves and said, 'If we say from heaven, he will ask, why didn't you believe him? But if we say from men, all the people will stone us because they are persuaded that John was a prophet.' So they answered, 'We don't know where it was from.' And Jesus said, 'Neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things.'" So in a sense, they didn't answer the question that Jesus asked. And so Jesus responded to them in a way that kind of dumbfounded them. And then the next passage, he tells a parable of the tenants. And at the end of the parable, it says this in verse 19, "The teachers of the law and the chief priests looked for a way to arrest him immediately because they knew he had spoken this parable against them, but they were afraid of the people." So he tells the story, and they're not sure what to do, and so they can't arrest him. They're afraid of the people, and so again they're kind of dumbfounded. And then we see a group, it says that of spies that come to keep watch on Jesus, and they're there to try to deceive him, and they talk to him about paying taxes. He says, "Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" Jesus asks for him to bring the coin over. He sees the picture of, he says, "Whose picture is this?" And they say, "It's Caesar's." And he says, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God." And verse 26 says, "They were unable to trap him in what he had said there in public, and astonished by his answer, they became silent." They didn't know what to say because what Jesus said to them was so wise, they couldn't question him. They didn't know what to do. And then finally, he's confronted by a group of Sadducees, and the Sadducees were another group of church leaders, but they didn't believe, and it said they didn't believe in the resurrection, so that's why they were sad, you see, the Sadducees. Haha, I know. But so they questioned Jesus, interestingly enough, about the resurrection and being married. Who are they going to be? Are we going to be married in the resurrection and those things? And so Jesus responds to them with that in that time that people will neither be married or given in marriage, so on and so forth. But at the end of that, this is what it says in verse 39. It says, "Some of the teachers of the law responded, 'Well said, teacher,' and no one dared to ask him any more questions." So in all of those groups, basically what I want you to see is that when Jesus was confronted by these groups, Jesus was able to impart a wise answer to them, or wisely not answering them, or wisely answering them in a way that they weren't expected. And it dumbfounded them, it astonished them, it caused them to say, "We're not going to ask him any more questions," and made them go away. And the bottom line of all that is this, is that he was wise. I mean, he's God in human flesh. He was wise. No matter what they asked him, he had a wise response. And from that, I want you to see this, that if you are in need of wisdom, you can go to the Lord. He is wise, and he has an answer for you. James tells us in James 1, verse 5, says this, "If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him." I mean, God is omniscient. That means he knows all things. And he knows the right answer for your situation. Whatever question you have, whatever need that you have, when you go to him, if you ask him for wisdom in a situation, according to James, the Lord gives it to us liberally, abundantly. I mean, he has his wisdom is never exhausted. And so whatever thing that you need, whatever answer that you need, if you will go to the Lord with it and ask him for it, he can give you the wisdom to do it. And that's going to do it for today. Tomorrow we are going to be in Luke chapter 21. Look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.